Hello my dear friends, this is Mona Bhatia and you are watching Learners Academy. Today's poem is All the World is a Stage and it is written by William Shakespeare. This poem is a monologue. Monologue means a loud speech to oneself. It's taken from William Shakespeare's play As You Like It. Here it goes. The poet is William Shakespeare. He is an English poet, playwright, actor. He is widely regarded as the greatest writer and dramatist, and he is often called England's national poet, and he is given the title Bard of Avon. Now I'm going to take up this poem. I'll explain each and every line, making its meaning clear. The first line says, all the world is a stage. The poet here indirectly compares the world to the stage. He says the world, which is a stage, is occupied by players. Players means actors. So what is he trying to say? He's saying the world has got many players. All the people on earth, they are mere actors. Alright? They enter the stage, they are here for a short time to perform their roles. They perform, they exit, and that's all about it. Alright? As one had Fourth line says, and one man in his time plays many part. But on the stage, so the line fourth means on the stage right from the entrance till his exit, a man performs many roles during his lifetime. Alright? He acts being 7 ages. At first, the infant. Now, he acts 7 roles. He plays 7 roles during his lifetime. Here the 7 stages of his lifetimes are called 7 acts. Alright. At first, the infant. The poet now takes you through 7 stages one by one. The first being infant. What does an infant do? He's mewling and puking in the nurse's arm, where baby is crying and throwing up in the arms of someone who is nursing the baby. It could be anybody, mother, nurse, or any other relative who takes care of the baby. Mewling means crying very weakly, and puking means throwing up. Then the whining schoolboy. Now after first stage there comes a stage of whining schoolboy, who's always complaining, carrying his satchel. Satchel means school bag. Alright. Now in line number 8, in this line the poet is describing the boy. How is he describing? He has a shining face and shining morning face, creeping like snail. He's unwilling to go to school. He doesn't want. No schoolboy is ever interested. Are you? Mostly children are reluctant, right? Now line number 9 says, and in line number 9, and then the lover. The third stage is of a lover. Lover is sighing like a furnace. The lover's sighing is directly compared to the furnace. He is passionate and sings sad or soulful ballet. Ballet means song to his loved one, that is mistress. Alright? This is mistress. And then comes the stage of a soldier. Soldier is full of strange oath. Alright? He's full of strange oath. Basically, to prove his power, and he has a beard like a pard. Pard is a short form of leopard. He grows a beard to display his manliness. In this stage, and he is full of jealousy. Alright, jealous in honor. He loses his temper very quickly, sudden, quick in quarrel. He fights and he seeking the bubble reputation. Why is this called bubble reputation? He's trying to build a name for himself, though he knows the reputation is not going to last. It is short-lived. Here the poet says, the bubble reputation, which is short-lived. But still, in the stage, he's fighting to prove his worth. He's a man would go to any extent. He would take risk to prove himself, even in cannon's mouth. All right, means he's ready to face dangers, undertakes risk to build a reputation even in cannon's mouth. Right? That means he's ready to undertake any risk. Okay? Now, and then the justice. The next stage is of a justice. Once his running about is over, he takes up the role of a middle-aged man. He's keen on justice, he has his opinions, he is full of wising, and he gives examples. Alright, he's full of wisdom in his middle-aged stage. Now, line number 17 in fair round belly is describing the appearance of a middle-aged man. He has a round belly with good caped lined. Alright, that means excess fat due to careless eating habit. He has become pot-bellied. Alright, line number 17 and 18. In this line, Shakespeare describes how the physical appearances of a lover changes when he gets into the stage of a adult. Now, his eyes are serious, they are not dreamy. He has formal cut beard, shows that he has matured. He has gained experience. He is wise now. Alright? And the line number 19th, he says, from here, the man enters the sixth stage. So the sixth age shifts. Now, what happens in this stage? Into the lean slippered pantaloon. Alright? He becomes thin. His thin legs are in slippers and baggy pants. Look very funny. And in line number 21, he has spectacles on his nose. He is describing the physical appearance of the man who is in the sixth stage of his life. He describes how he keeps his spectacles on the nose. That he means his eyesight has become weak. He keeps a pouch on the side. Alright. Now line number 23, his youthful hose. His youthful hose. Well saved. A world too wide. This means his close fitting stocking, which he had saved till now, and they are now too big for his thin legs. Alright. For his shrunk shank. Here, for his shrunk shank. Okay. The shank is the lower part of the leg, the part of the leg between knee and ankle, and his big manly voice. Alright, he has a big manly voice. Line number 25 states, turning again towards childish trebles. Alright, this means his whistles in his sound means that he's losing his teeth. Alright, last scene of all. Now his manly voice changes back to childish and shrill, and when he talks, it seems that he's whistling because maybe he has lost his teeth, and the air whistles and then escapes those caps. Alright, the line number 26, last scene of all. Now Shakespeare is describing the last stage of mankind. That ends this strange and eventful history. Finally, the man enters the last stage of his life. He becomes senile. He enters his second childhood. In second childishness and mere oblivion. In this line he explains, he returns to the helpless stage of childhood. He ultimately becomes unaware of what is happening around him. Now, the last line. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, and sans means without. Now in this third final stage, he lives without teeth, without eyes, no taste, and he has almost lost everything. He has lost almost all his senses. Sans here is repeated for emphasis. Alright, now we'll take a few seconds to review the poem one more time. I hope you have understood the poem. We'll go on to the next slide now. In this slide, I'm going to make you understand various words and phrases. First is players. Players means actors. Puking. Puking means throwing up or vomiting. Satchel. Satchel means a school bag. Woeful ballet. Woeful ballet means very sad song. Ballet means song. Woeful means sad. Bard. Bard is a short form of poetical short form of leopard. Alright. Cannon's mouth. Cannon's mouth means facing danger to life. Alright. Now with good cape in lined. This means with excess fat from careless eating habits. Sauce. Next word is sauce. Sauce means saying. He's full of wise sauce. He's full of wise saying. Alright. The next word is youthful. Hose means close fitting covering for legs, which you must have seen in old movies which are based on the Shakespearean era. Alright. All those his plays. Alright. Now the treble. Treble means 3 times weaker than. Alright. Second childishness means a return to the helpless ignorant state of a child. Oblivion means state of being unaware, unconscious of the surrounding and happening. Sans. Sans means without. Alright. Now from here we'll move on to the next slide. Now we'll go through some questions to have a better understanding of the poem, and which is very important from an examination point of view also. So the first question that is here is we have to find out some differences between the second and the fourth stage. See, the second stage was of a schoolboy who had a shining morning face, and he whines when he goes towards the school. He creeps like a snail and is not interested. But in the fourth stage is it is the adulthood of the man. He is represented by a soldier. He is bearded. He is not having a shining face. He has beard on his face, and here he is enthusiastic, which is not like a school going boy who is reluctant. He takes on any challenge to prove himself. He is ready to fight. He wants to build a reputation for himself, and though he knows that reputation is a short-lived thing. Now in the second question, we have to find some differences between the third and the fifth stage. In the third stage, he is a lover. He's a teenager. He's vulnerable. He's longing for his loved one. He is having a dreamy eye, and he sings sad songs, and he heaves a sigh like a furnace does. But in the fifth stage, the man turns into a mature person who is not concerned with his looks. He's got round belly, he has got serious eyes, he has got formal cut beard, and he has gained wisdom and experience, which he starts by giving, which he shares his experience by giving example. Now we have to compare the first and the seventh stage, which is the last stage. That means first is the start of the cycle and seventh is the end of the cycle. Now the first stage is of infant who is mewling and puking, but he has a shining face and he has innocence, and he has no teeth. In the seventh stage also, man returns to the state of being a child, but here he has lost his teeth, his eyesight, his taste. He is in a state of oblivion just like an infant. So basically first and seventh stage, they are almost same. Alright. Now which two stages of man described by Shakespeare sound humorous and why? So everybody may have different opinion for this answer, so I'll just give you my opinion. You can change, you can write on in your own words also. The second and the third stages seems humorous to me. In this, one can just imagine the schoolboy who complains and whines and he creeps, taking his bag, on his shoulder. He has a well scrubbed and shining face, maybe oiled by his mother, so that he looks presentable in the school. And the third stage, where the lover sighs loudly and sings sad songs and, you know, beautiful soulful song for his mistress. Now, the next question is, the last stage of a man sounds very sad and miserable. How can you make old age also cheerful and happy? So, this is your personal response. Here, this type of question, you have to give a positive reply. Now, of course, indeed, the last stage of life seems very sad and miserable, but it can, however, be made cheerful and happy by reliving the pleasant moments which someone has gone through the life, which human being have faced throughout the journey of his life. That person can share his experiences and memory, and his family members and friends and neighbors, they can, seek opinion from them, because that man has lived his life, he has got a lot of experience. And when you give importance to an old man, he has got a very innocent smile on his face, and he is very happy to share his experience, so that you can also have a fulfilling life like him. So we'll move on to the next slide from here. Now there is a question: pick out the lines that contain imagery of the following people. Now what does an imagery means? Means a picture created in the mind by using words. Now for schoolboy, the line whining schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face. This line creates a image in your mind, creeping like a snail, unwilling to go to school. Now for soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the bard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel. So these lines create an image of a soldier. For judge, in fair, round belly with good cape lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut. Alright. Now senior citizen, his youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank. So these lines create an imaginary for the sixth stage, that is, he's a judge. Now pick out the metaphorical comparison from the poem. The poem is entirely metaphorical. What is a metaphor? Metaphor means when two unlike things are compared implicitly as if the two things are synonymous or one. Alright, the figure of speech is called metaphor. Here the world is compared to stage, actors are compared to players, birth and death is compared to entrance and exit from the world. That alright. Schoolboy is compared to a snail, creeping like a snail. Now the lover's sigh is compared to a furnace, and the spotted beard leopard is compared to bearded soldier. Here is the most important topic of any poem, that is figures of speech. Figures of speech is very important too, because it gives a musical effect to the poem. It draws your attention, it hides the meaning of the poem, it brings images to your mind. Alright, so the various figures of speech that will be covered is already written on the left hand side of the slide, and all the alliteration have been already highlighted in the poem with red color. You can see what is alliteration basically. It is when the sounds are repeated in a sentence for pleasing and musical effect. That's figure of speech is called alliteration. I've even highlighted a repetition. There is only one repetition in this poem, and that is the last line of the poem. You can see the word sans is repeated 4 times in one sentence. So these two are already highlighted. These two figures of speech are already highlighted. The other figures of speech I'm going to take up one by one. The first line of the poem is a metaphor. Why? Because the world is compared to a stage. The second line of the poem also has a metaphor because the men and women have been compared implicitly to the actors or players. Third line also has got metaphors because exit and entrances have been compared to the birth and death. Now in the fourth line there is an inversion. What is an inversion? Inversion means the correct prose order has not been used for better poetic effect, but the correct prose order should have been no one man plays many part in his time. Alright? And one man plays many part in his time. So you want to mention the correct prose order, you can, but this is actually an inversion. Alright? Basically inversion brings out the beauty in a poem. It's very important. Most of the poets, they use inversion. It's sometimes used in prose also. Now we come to line number 5 and 6, and this is at first the infant mewling and puking in the nurse's arm, and then whining schoolboy. So here the figure of speech that is covered in these lines is onomatopoeia, because there is a sound that is there. Because when a word conveys the sound that is to be expressed, mewling means crying weakly, whining means crying, complaining, and we move on to the next line. The next line has a word like here. So whenever there is a comparison using the word as or like, that figure of speech is a simile. So in this line we have simile. Now we come to the next line. Unwilling to school, creeping like a snail is done. In this line there is inversion also, because the correct prose order should have been creeping like a snail to school unwillingly. So creeping like a snail to school unwillingly. So there have been two inversion. What was the first one? The first one was in line number 4. And one man in his time plays many parts. So this was inversion, and this is another inversion. Now we move on to the line number 9 and 10. Here, and then the lover sighing like a furnace. Again there is a sound here. So whenever there is a sound, lover's breath is directly compared to furnace. So onomatopoeia. The figure of speech here is onomatopoeia. Now there is one very important figure of speech here, and that which I am going to cover is transferred epithet. What is transferred epithet? Transferred epithet means when an adjective is transferred from its rightful noun to another noun in the sentence. Here the epithet woeful has been transferred from lover to the ballet. It has come here. In place of a lover, it has come to ballet. So the figure of speech here is transferred epithet. Alright. In line number this full of strange oath, bearded like the path. So the word like has come again. The figure of speech here is simile. Now in line number 14, jealous in honor, you see the alliteration over here, seeking the bubble reputation. In line number 14, the poet indirectly compares dangers to cannon's mouth. So the danger has been compared to cannon's mouth, and there is hyperbole also, because there is an exaggeration. What is an hyperbole? Hyperbole means when the statement is exaggerated or overstated for effect. So in order to build a reputation, a person would be willing to face even death. So there is an hyperbole, there is an exaggeration. Now we move on to the next line. Um, in fair round belly with good capon lined. So there again we have inversion on in this line. So the correct prose order should have been in fair round belly lined with good capon. Line number 18 again has a inversion. Full with eyes severe and beard of formal cut. So this also has got inversion. The correct prose order should have been with severe eyes and formal cut beard. Alright. Now in line number 20 there is an alliteration, you can already see, and now we come to this line. His youthful hose. Youthful hose. There is a transferred epithet because the epithet youthful has been transferred from the old man to the hose. Alright. So this epithet has been transferred from the old man to the hose. Now in this line you can see there is a alliteration. Again you can see alliteration in the coming lines. Now in line number 26 there is a whistle. There is whistle, the word whistle, which is again onomatopoeia. Okay, whistle denotes the sound of a weak old man. In line number 28 the poet indirectly compares the second childishness to the old age. Alright, and then in the last line, as I have already mentioned, there is a repetition, but apart from repetition there is one more figure of speech here, because, and that is hyperbole. The reason is because sans everything is an exaggeration of the losses. Sans everything means so much of loss, lot of losses. So is an exaggeration of losses that one has to bear in the old age. So that's all about the figures of speech. We'll move on to the next slide now.